The Seetec ATEM 156 15.6-inch live streaming broadcast director monitor. There's 4 HDMI inputs and 4 HDMI outputs. This is meant for the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. That's what it's made for. I don't have the ATEM Mini. I'm using this because I wanted to have multiple inputs. I wanted to see a quad mode and have multiple camera angles in one monitor. Here are the specs for this monitor. This is an IPS LCD panel. It's 1920 by 1080, contrast ratio 800:1. It provides 170 degrees of view on both horizontal and vertical directions. So when you're showing this on set, people can stand around the monitor within 170 degrees and have perfect view of the contrast and the colors and all that. This monitor doesn't have any of the LUTs or any of the proper scopes that you would see in more expensive monitors when you're checking exposure and focus and all of those other in color, but it does have a bare minimum of some focus checking functions, and that includes focus peaking, false color, and pixel to pixel. Here's my setup. I have 4 cameras going into the Seetec, and I'm just shooting my old Hi8 camcorder over there. I have a Canon XF400. This is a GH5S. This is a GH5. And this is a Canon EOS R. They're all 4K cameras, and they're shooting in 4K, but the outputs are on auto. So whatever the auto output is, it could be 1080, and that's what this monitor is getting, which only accepts a 4K signal, but it down converts to 1080. There's a couple milliseconds of latency from all these going into the monitor, but it's not that bad. So if you are doing an interview, a talking head interview, the lips are going to be slightly out of sync, millisecond, but just for monitoring purposes, you're not going to notice it that drastically. Here's how the switcher works. So they're all plugged in the back, and you switch it by, here's quad mode, and if you want to do individuals, you just hit HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4. Camera 1 is the XF400. Camera 2 is the GH5S. It's my dog that just walked in. Now I'm going to switch to camera 3. Camera 3 is the GH5. And now I'm going to switch to camera 4. And camera 4 is the EOS R. Few things that I do not like about the Seetec that I'm already seeing right now. One of them is that it's not that bright. It seems bright on camera, but compared to other monitors like the Ninja V, for example, which is over I think 1,000 nits of brightness, this monitor isn't as bright. So if you're going to bring this outdoors, you're going to need to lend a hood to cover it up. It's great for studio use though. Indoors, perfect. The other thing I do not like about this is that there are these buttons that you switch to, there's a loud click. So I don't know if you could hear the clicks. But if you're on set and you're filming, those clicks, you don't want to hear the clicks when you're switching. I'm going to go switch to another camera here. Yeah. The other thing I don't like is this delay in switching. So every time you switch cameras, there's a delay, like a 1 second delay. And when you're going into the 4 quad mode, there's a delay for each quadrant. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. I'm going to switch to quad mode and just look how long it takes all of the cameras to show up. You see that? That was, 2 seconds per quadrant? And this happens every single time you want to switch modes. Not even those commercial TV switcher quadrant things take that long. So that for production, when you want to switch fast, this isn't for speed. So it's like you want to set it for quad mode, that's great. And then when you want to go individual cameras, it takes a second. All the switching. Yeah, to me that's a long time, and then that can get annoying if you're constantly switching. And the last thing I don't like about this monitor is I got it for two purposes. The first purpose was to avoid having a switcher, so I can get 4 inputs in and not have to have an external switcher. It's all built into the monitor, which is great. That works, albeit it's slow in refreshing each camera. But the other major thing I got this monitor for was to check focus. When you're pretty wide, it's hard to know if you're in focus when you're looking at that LCD screen. You can use peaking, you can do other things. I wouldn't trust the autofocus at all on these Panasonic cameras. Even with the native Panasonic lenses, I do not trust the autofocus. So I'm going manual and swapping to manual. And normally you can see peaking, but even with peaking and some other focus assist functions on this LCD, it's just too small. So that's why a 15.6 inch should be good, but when you want to see critical focus, you have some focus mode features to help you check focus. One of them is the zoom, and I love the zoom. On the Ninja 5, you touch the screen and you could zoom in. On Small HD you can pinch to zoom, which is the best, I think, to zoom in close to get critical focus. On this, the Seetec, you can punch in. It has zoom features, but the problem with the zoom feature here is that it cycles through different zoom modes until you get the one you want. And I have it preset already to f2. So here is what it does. First, it goes into quadrants. And then it finally goes into the center. So what it was doing as I was cycling through, it goes from left, right, bottom left, bottom right, center, and then center. And I don't like, it does that every time. When I want to just go zoom in double time into the middle, you have to cycle through that, and there's button clicks, and that's not what you want to do while you're filming. While I'm filming an interview, or I'm filming fitness, or I'm filming something with a wide angle, I want to check focus, but doing that with a bunch of clicks is not going to cut it. So I don't know if that's a firmware update that they could fix this with, or maybe it's not meant for that purpose to do live. The build quality of this is not that great. It's all plastic, so it's not going to last very long. The way you would mount it is that down here it has some quarter 20 holes, so I got this adapter here. This goes onto a C-stand, regular light stands that you would put it in, and then you just screw the quarter 20 right on the bottom. That quarter 20 thread is holding the entire monitor. It's not that heavy, but still, that seems a bit flimsy and not the best, sturdiest mount that I would drag around on sets, especially outdoor locations. This is not something you'd want to bring on an outdoor location. Inside, in a studio, in an apartment, if you're shooting indoors, yes, but not outdoors. I'm just having a little fun here now because I can. Here's the XF400 plugged in to the Seetec, and then the Seetec, one of the benefits of having both an input and an output is that you can daisy chain monitors depending on the input outputs of other monitors. So the Seetec has an input output, so I'm going from the 400 into the Seetec. Seetec is outputting to this Ninja V. Ninja V is outputting to this really cheap Samsung 24-inch monitor, computer monitor. So now I'm getting three monitors from one source because of the input-output feature of the Seetec. Not many monitors has an input-output. A lot of them have multiple inputs, but rarely will you find a monitor in this price range with an input and output. So that's one of the benefits of the Seetec. Now you can notice the difference in size. So it's a 15.6 and this is the 24-inch standard computer monitor. If you look at the clarity, The Seetec is a little more color accurate, but you know, when you're just looking at the monitor and you need it for focus, or you're just looking at just to frame your shot, there's really nothing wrong with the cheaper Samsung. I don't know how much I paid for it. I think it was like 200, maybe less. And this has lasted me 5 years now. So for 5 years, I've had this monitor, and it's working fine. It is very limited for what you can do, and I wouldn't trust the colors at all. But for focus and framing, not bad. And you can see it here. I'll check. You would think that there's going to be some kind of latency by daisy chaining, but there doesn't seem to be that much of a latency. So I'm gonna, this camera, I'll zoom out. Let me see if I can get it all in the same shot here. Okay, great. And let's see. Okay, I'm gonna be zooming in and out, and as I zoom in and out, you can see if there's any latency. So I know this is a terrible test of this, but I'm zooming in and out, and you could see, at least with the two monitors. Can you see in the Ninja? Yeah, you can kind of see in the Ninja. It's all happening at the same time. There's no delay in the feed, in the chain. So there's already a millisecond or so delay from the camera to the monitor, but once it gets into the monitor, when you're I'm daisy chaining these monitors together, and they're all the same latency, which is great. Oh, you can even see the LCD of the XF400. Now, it depends on the camera that you're using. So the Canon XF400, because it's a camcorder and because it's a pro design, there's less of a delay in the HDMI output. But if you were to use the Panasonic GH5, GH4, Panasonic is notorious for a slower HDMI signal for some reason. And yeah, there you go. I thought this was kind of a cool thing. I haven't seen anyone else do something like this. And since the Seetec ATEM 156 has 4 independent inputs and 4 independent outputs, you could have 4 cameras into the Seetec and outputting each camera to a different another monitor, and just start daisy chaining monitors together. I don't know why you would do that, but if you wanted to do that, the Seetec offers a fairly affordable way to achieve that.